The first spring of COVID-19, 2020, the year the word pandemic entered everyday speech and toilet paper became a prized possession. If we were lucky, it only emptied our streets, our schools, our social lives. If we weren't, it emptied our families and our wallets. The lucky ones could just transition to work at home. The rest had to put their very lives at risk, commuting to the essential jobs that kept folks fed and cared for. Audible has collaborated with the Loop Lab on a series of pieces about COVID-19 and the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement in 2020. In this piece, John Ravenell Jr. of the Loop Lab talks with a number of members of the Boston area Black community to learn about how they met the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic and how they found their resilience to keep on going. These conversations took place over Zoom or, if in person, under the best social distancing practices. Interviewees are Troy Ellerby of Pentecostal Tabernacle, Jija of the Black Cotton Club, Joy Riley, a freelance hairdresser, Ezra McDowell, a freelance videographer, and Chris Hope and Moses Michelle, co-founders of the Loop Lab.
Yeah, this is a 6-foot ruler, so tape measure. We're about 9 feet apart. I think it's safe to take the mask off. My name is Troy Ellerby. I work at Pentecostal Tabernacle in Cambridge. When COVID started, put me in a place to react like one would react with a pending storm that you're watching for, a blizzard, for lack of a better word. You see from afar that this blizzard's heading your way. Go through a list of what is it that it's going to take to sustain through the storm, right? What changes need to be made to keep people safe within the facilities? So that's been the biggest change.
So my name is Jija, first name Priscilla, founder of a beautiful and very sacred space called Black Cotton Club. Really just creates a space where people tell their stories and sing their songs and share their poems and share their whatever is going on. My performances, Black Cotton Club, teaching requires me to be in front of people, requires a call and response, requires people to answer questions in the same room. And to transition everything to virtual was very, very tough. We are now facing is what does it really mean to have now a jam session? And we haven't answered it. Honestly, we're still trying stuff. So,
I had the opportunity to speak with 2 self-driven entrepreneurs of color that freelanced their skill in Boston. My intentions was to dig deeper to learn what obstacles have they had to overcome to move forward.
My name is Joy Riley. I am 25 years old and I'm a hairstylist. Before COVID, I was, and still am doing hair. I love making people feel good about themselves. I love seeing people happy and pleased with their appearance. I was actually in hair school and I dropped it because I lacked the confidence to keep going. I didn't believe in myself. I wasn't sure if anybody else really believed in me. So there was many times throughout my hairstyling career that I've given up for a little bit and jumped right back in because I've always been called to do it. So.
My name is Ezra McDowell, and I run McDowell Media. From when I was a young age, like I was 7 years old, I was into technology heavy. I would bring stuff home. I would build my own stuff. I wasn't into having new stuff. I would always destroy it and make something else out of it. And then it kind of, molded its way into me doing video production and doing audio production and fixing technology. I threw it out there too, here or there, like, hey, you're trying to get out better content. I see you shooting stuff with your phone. Oh yeah, I'll come by. Never happened. Not even my own church even brought me in. They're still shooting from their cell phone. Even I offered it to them. And a Spanish church down on Blue Hill Avenue, they don't even speak English. They speak Portuguese and Spanish. They let me in and they paid me to shoot their service, and the service came out amazing. They're pulling 2K, 3K viewers on a Sunday. I think they pulled next to 6K on Mother's Day. I don't even think that congregation is that big. And they're pulling those type of numbers. So I'm like, this is what could happen.
Soon after, I spoke with Chris Hope and Moses Michelle, co-founders of the Loop Lab, to discuss with them what focuses should we have to better serve underprivileged Black communities in Boston and Cambridge.
Really, my purpose in life has always been advancing for those who are more vulnerable in our society, and advancing rights, human rights, civil rights, opportunities. And I think that the Loop Lab, for me at least, is another permutation of that. When we talk about the gross underrepresentation of Black and brown folks in the media arts industries and the audio video industries, at the same time being able to try to scaffold the foundational resources and knowledge that is needed in order for people of color to really enter into a lot of those spaces and to be able to feed their families, provide for themselves.
What I've always really pushed for is access. So when I start to look around and see a lot of my peers, they didn't have access either. It's like, yeah, what is that person has that, like, you know, or these groups of people have that we don't have, and how can we get that? And so really moving into spaces in which I could find individuals who are willing to share how to gain access and what that means. And what am I not naming is that graduating high school didn't necessarily mean that I would get the job that I wanted. And yeah, graduating college meant the same thing. So like, I'm like, okay, well, what is this weird in between that like, you know, we're not getting? And it's this thing called workforce development, like, you know, and that's where the Loop Lab comes in, right? And that's where, like, really thinking about, hey, how do we build our resumes? Like, what does this look like? You know, these were all things that I was constantly trying to find for my peers and for myself. Growing up in a space that, like, you know, that is systemically created to keep people the way they are. Like, a great example, if I grew up in public housing, I realized that that I can't make a certain amount of money, otherwise they're gonna shoot up the rent on my mother. So I can get a job, but I can't get a job that's too good, because then my mom loses her house. Teaching young people, young adults, I will say, like, in that space, because that's the young adulting part of your life. It's hard to make that jump, right? I'll say that, like, you know, it's very easy that someone's like, honestly, like, this is really uncomfortable for my style of living, and that's a challenge.
Because many of them have been forced to be effective with limited resources prior to this epidemic, they have found unique opportunities and a strong mental attitude to be resilient in their circumstance. So I asked them to share some wisdom that would encourage someone else in a similar circumstance as them. Here's what they had to say.
You know, I have a personal mantra, which is focus your light. And the idea is just like a laser that's just focused light. Similarly, there's an energy within all people. And I think that you have to, you know, be able to be self-aware and to believe in yourself and have that confidence in your abilities to make change and create change in order to focus your light, despite whatever might be happening around you or happening to you.
So if there is a challenge, it's not seeing it as something that's going to block you. It's seeing something as an opportunity to move forward and grow from. So and having something called stick-to-itiveness, that's resilience.
Just believe in yourself wholeheartedly. Perfect your craft, whatever it is. Try new things. Learn from where you mess up, where you made a mistake. Learn from those, and, you know, just believe in yourself and try.
Always think outside of the box. I know it's very cliche, but it's like seeing the bigger picture to a lot of things really zones you in. When you're stuck inside of this little corner and you can't even see past the bend, it creates a barrier around you where you feel like, oh, there's nothing besides what's in this box, when there's a whole bigger picture out there.
I think that we are all equipped with the tools that we need to operate in this life. It doesn't require knowledge of any kind. And I think that the more that we trust this wisdom that we've been blessed with, the wisdom that is within our own hearts, our own mind, our own body, I think we'll be able to like really get answers, or even be able to fall in love with the question.
We go through challenges, and trusting in God allows me to weather the storm. And then once we get to the other side of the storm, being able to look back and saying, we did it by God's grace, thank you. That's what resilience is to me.
Greatness is forged in trial and tribulation. Resilience is a skill that gets sharpened all too often. But it does demonstrate our strength and give us hope. Together we will get through this, and we'll never be the same again. Let's hope we will be stronger for it.